right, let's get the introduction going. This is going to be, we'll get the introduction going right now. I've got Cam Sahada with me, Jeff Gill presenting, and Silas Renner from Qcells Q.HOME. Let's take a look at our next slide. All right, it's the Qcells Q.HOME Core, the energy storage solution everybody's been waiting for. As usual with our presentations, you can find data sheets and additional resources. They're down in the control panel in the bottom under handouts. You can that'll open a web page where you can download the respective documents. Please put questions in as we go. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the event. Yeah, put in your questions anytime and we'll organize them and get to them at the end. And of course, as normal, we'll do a recording of today's event. That'll get emailed out to all the attendees to review at your leisure. Let's have the next slide, Jeff. Of course, I'm from Green Tech Renewables. We're the nationwide engineering and technical sales network for Green Tech Renewables. We're the engineering services team within Green Tech. Anybody who has a Green Tech account can have an engineering account and can have full-time access to the entire design team for any kind of project, commercial, industrial, residential, energy storage, you name it. We can do any kind of design and engineering deliverable. Thanks, Jeff. We'll do the next slide. And then, of course, Green Tech Renewables is the nation's leading distribution company for solar equipment. We're committed to providing customers with exceptional service and top-tier products from prominent renewable energy manufacturers. Green Techs are, we're a leading organization in the field, but we're extremely local. We know local markets. We have products that are specifically stocked in anticipation of local demand and local markets. And our engineering team is actually trained in the codes and best practices of those areas. So not only do you get the warehouse that has full inventory and anything you need to support your projects, not to mention finance, you also have a design team that is fine-tuned for those products. So as with every webinar, our core values are service, integrity, and reliability. And I think you're going to find that this new Qcells Q.HOME Core product is going to suit that objective perfectly. Jeff, you want to go ahead and start the next section?
Thank you very much, Stuart, and thank you to Green Tech Renewables for hosting us here today. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to present Q.HOME Core to you all, and we thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with us. So we sincerely appreciate it. My name is Jeff Gill. I work in channel marketing over at Qcells, and I'll be co-hosting this webinar with my colleagues, Cam Sahada and Silas Renner. Cam, Silas, you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Cam again, and thank you, Jeff. It's a real pleasure to be on this call with our partners, Green Tech, and all of you guys out there. Look forward to sharing more about our Q.HOME Core.
Hello, everyone. I'm Silas. Thank you, CED, for hosting this, and looking forward to sharing with you all information about our new Q.HOME product.
Well, hey, we're extremely happy to be here with you today at the beginning of this new chapter in renewable energy. Batteries are here, and they're here to stay. We have gone from the point where battery is something neat to have to battery is something that you need to have. And personally, I feel lucky to be here at this particular juncture when energy storage systems are in their nascent growth stage. And it feels like the solar industry is starting up all over again. We're particularly excited because this system has been very well received by our installer partners who have done our beta tests and our pilot installations. They have been very positive about this product, and of course, that makes us feel pretty great about it. So that's a good thing for us. I want to get quickly through the agenda here. We're going to start with introductions, go a little bit into industry trends, and look at what's happening with batteries in the market today. We're going to talk over specifics of the Q.HOME Core product, including really what the value prop of this battery is, some of the capabilities, specifications, kind of do a dive into the product itself. And then we're going to open it up, make sure that we have lots of time for Q&A at the end. So we will get to your questions. If you do have questions, please type them into the chat. Don't be shy. We're going to have Silas actually monitoring the chat, and he'll be handling the question and answer session for us. Also, quick housekeeping item. If you look at the handout section, you're going to see a really neat flyer for our product that we encourage you to share, and you'll see our data sheet. So please feel free to look at that, check it out, and tell us what you think. So the first thing that we want to get to here today is some of the trends that are driving growth in the battery storage market. These charts are courtesy of Qcells Analytics and Energy Sage, so we can get into that. But first, we want to get into some of the major trends that are happening and some of the tailwinds. We have some particularly strong policy tailwinds with the Inflation Reduction Act extending the ITC to cover energy storage. We believe that this is going to buoy attachment rates, and it's going to incentivize retrofits. As many of you know, you can apply for the investment tax credit for just a standalone energy system. So folks who already have solar are going to be further incentivized to take advantage of that investment tax credit and use it for energy storage. We also see a lot of energy storage growth happening because of the need for energy resiliency and grid resiliency. We have some extreme weather as a result of climate change, and more people are finding themselves without power for often days at a time. Batteries, again, are going from something that was neat to have to something that you need to have. Switching gears to talk over the charts on this page and kind of get through all of this, starting with the left, you see here a chart that shows a breakup of market share for energy storage providers or energy storage OEMs. The blue is Tesla, the green is LG, the yellow is SunPower, and the gray is Enphase. Now, again, this is just one data point. This is not the entire industry. This is not indicative of exactly what's out there in the industry. But this gives us a pretty good idea of who the main players are in the energy storage industry. And a couple of things that you could pick up from this chart, despite the fact that Enphase, you can only install Enphase on Enphase, meaning you can only AC couple an Enphase system onto an Enphase PV system with Enphase microinverters. They've managed to grab about 26% of the market in about 2 years. So it shows that really there can be rapid shifts in who the leaders are in the energy storage market very quickly. But again, that comes with the pitfall of only being able to install on Enphase. You need to be able to install on Enphase and SolarEdge in order to cover 80% of or more of the installs that are out there. And many people who are on the line know this. They haven't just installed, if you own a company, maybe you haven't installed just one type of inverter. You haven't installed Enphase the entire time that you've been in business. Maybe you've installed SolarEdge and Enphase. And when you're presenting solution to the client, you want a battery that's going to be able to cover both. That same logic applies for SunPower. SunPower here in yellow really only addresses SunPower installations. LG really only addresses SolarEdge installations. So really, in order to cover the market and cover all of your existing customers, if you've installed Enphase and SolarEdge, you need a different product, or you need to be able to offer two products. And that can be somewhat disadvantageous to installers. Tesla, of course, has over 50% market share, perhaps because they can do SolarEdge and Enphase. But one of the pitfalls of Tesla is they don't have green tech renewables. They don't have the kind of supply chain, stability that a partner like Green Tech Renewables gives them. So that's an important point that to take into account. If we're looking over here at the two graphs on the right, you see here in very short order, 7.6% hike in attachment rates in over a 2-year period. That's quite a bit. And I understand, again, this is just one data point, but we're almost getting to the point where attachment rates are 1 in 5, so 20% attachment rate. And we think that once that happens, we're going to see a sharp hockey stick in the level of attachment rates, and it's just going to become the norm. But slowly but surely, this is rising, or it has risen, and now we're starting to see it start to take off. On top, this chart was really interesting to me. It's reasons, kind of consumer sentiments on why they go with energy storage or why they install energy storage. And increasingly, we see people motivated by wanting to get savings on their utility bill. So that means they might only want a 10 kilowatt hour battery that could do time of use peak shaving or self-consumption. Maybe they don't want a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery or two 13.5 kilowatt hour batteries. Maybe they want a 20 kilowatt hour battery. Again, you need a battery that can do both, can be a small energy saver or be good for grid resiliency or resiliency. And again, these are some of the modes that you can, operation modes that you can put our battery into. We have time of use, where you're going to see that often in California and Arizona, where you have time of use rates and you have high peaks. In Jacksonville Electric Authority and other utilities that don't necessarily have peak hours, you might not see that. You might see people using self-consumption mode more often, where they use the battery at night with the energy that they stored during the day. And of course, you want to be able to switch over to backup mode that maximizes the amount of energy that is saved in your battery. So now that we've gone through that, I want to talk a little bit about Qcells and who we are. And we are the residential market leader for PV currently, by a long shot. We are backed by the Hanwha Group, which we can discuss in later detail in the next slide. But what we stand for is a completely clean energy solution, and one that is made here in the United States for the United States market. We pride ourselves on creating innovative solutions and having extremely high standards of quality. And that's something that we're going to take with us when we have our energy storage with Q.HOME Core. The Hanwha Group is, Qcells is an affiliate of the Hanwha Group. And $186 billion in assets. What does that mean to us realistically on the phone? It means that Qcells is backed by a very stable partner, a stable partner that can provide its professional assets, one that does $66 billion in sales in just last year. It's the 7th largest conglomerate in Korea. It is a stable giant, and they have made an incredibly large investment in the United States, into United States manufacturing. $2.5 billion, the largest investment in solar manufacturing in United States history. And with that, we intend to have 3.1 gigawatts of solar module capacity by the end of, or by Q1 in 2023, and 8.4 gigawatts of solar module capacity by the end of 2024. So we have made a substantial investment in the United States, and we are here to stay. All of this is to say what? All of this is to say that we are going to take the expertise that made us a leader in PV, and we are going to apply it to making us a leader in ESS. We are America's #1 choice for residential and commercial solar, and we intend to take everything that we have and apply it to making sure that we have a positive customer experience with Q.HOME Core. So what is Q.HOME Core? If you take anything away from this presentation today, please take away Q.HOME Core is design flexibility. Q.HOME Core is safety, and Q.HOME Core is performance. Flexibility, safety, and performance. We are an AC or DC coupled solution. And really, you know, DC coupled solution is great if you have somebody who is just installing energy storage and PV. AC couple, of course, is great for the retrofit market, a huge addressable retrofit market. We have 1 day install and commissioning. That's extremely important, and we understand that that's extremely important to installers. Installers don't price in a 2-day install. They price in a 1 day install. So it's important that we're able to commission in you know, an afternoon. You know, the first time I went out to a beta test, we commissioned in under half an hour, and I was floored. And you know, that it's been really well received in the marketplace to have a solution that's able to do that. We have a scalable, it's stackable battery that's easy to install, and that's all by design. We have, in terms of safety, you go to one warrantor for PV and ESS. It just makes things easier for you and your business. We are UL 9540A listed, so we have a high safety rating for our battery. And in terms of your peace of mind and safety and making sure that we have a positive customer experience, we have a customer support line for installers, 888-249-7750. We also have PTI-ESS@Qcells.com. So please contact us, reach out to us. When you're thinking about installing your first Q.HOME Core system, reach out to us and we can get FAE assistance. More on that later. We can parallel stack up to 80 kilowatt hours and 128 amps. So this is a whole home backup solution, and it is a very powerful solution. So an 80 kilowatt hour total battery size. The one that you're looking at now on the screen, if you can see, there are 4 5 kilowatt hour batteries. This is your typical battery. It's 20 kilowatt hours. And you can see these are the batteries, and they stack underneath the battery management system and the inverter. And then on the right here, you see the Q.HOME hub. That's our smart ATS. So all of this is designed to be cost effective and fit together modularly, scalably, and it's meant to be something that is easy to install for everybody. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Cam to get to some of the specifics about the battery system.
Great, and thank you, Jeff. You know, let's take a look at some of the components here and the building blocks, if you will. And so what we have here in the middle is a cabinet that comprises the battery system, the battery management system, and the inverter. Jeff, I don't know if you can move the cursor into the center to highlight that. So this again is the battery system, the battery management system, and the inverter. And over to the right, we have what you traditionally call the backup interface. We call that the Q.HOME hub. And you know, on the bottom left, you see a little picture there of a battery module. And this particular module is the key component in the system. And it's a very robust, very rugged battery module rated at 5 kilowatt hour. There are two handles on this and a connector, and that connector is designed in such a way that it's actually a floating connector. So it allows you to plug modules together and build a battery cabinet. I just want to take a step back a little bit. You know, along with some of the message that Jeff just shared in terms of the value proposition, you know, when we started the development of this product, we had 5 key objectives. You know, one of them was that we wanted to offer a complete solution, you know, everything from the module to the grid. So truly get a module, inverter, a battery, and the hub, including the MLPE, the rapid shutdown devices. So we could offer a complete system solution that we've tested ourselves, you know, we've deployed in the field, and it becomes a reference design. Number 2, we wanted to have a system that was scalable and flexible. So with a couple of components, a battery module, an inverter, and the hub, you could deploy in a variety of applications, whether it's, you know, AC coupled to existing PV only sites, or whether it's a completely new system with modules, including, you know, the power conversion, or whether it was, for example, indoor or outdoor rated, and also scales in terms of size, the capacity of the battery or the size of the inverter. And that was the second objective. And, you know, the third was clearly the simplicity of the installation. Jeff talked a little bit about that. You know, make it easy to install and commission. And then the fourth was safety. You know, safety in mind, you know, from having a look at these very robust and rugged battery modules to incorporating, you know, safety features such as rapid shutdown for fire personnel safety, and also safety from the perspective of, you know, the battery chemistry. In this case, we're utilizing LFP, which we'll take a look at, the lithium iron phosphate chemistry. Jeff mentioned the UL 9540A certification, which is a test standard for thermal runaway. So we certified to that. And then lastly, number 5, we wanted to make sure that you, the installer or our customers, would have an awesome experience. And that is from looking at a data sheet to actually doing the installation, you know, getting training and everything after PTO, after the system's operational. So, you know, we've got a team of application engineers spread throughout the country now, over 7 application engineers to support this particular product line. So we'll get involved with you right from the beginning when you start designing, through reviewing single line diagrams, helping with permitting, and through to final commissioning and turning on. So I wanted to kind of emphasize that and get back into the components here. We have 2 inverter models, 3.8 kilowatt and a 7.6 kilowatt inverter. And then the battery module, we need at least 2 battery modules to get from 10 kilowatt hours to 15 or 20 kilowatt hours in a single cabinet. So that's 2, 3, or 4 of these battery modules. And then on the right-hand side, a 200 amp rated backup interface. So these are the components. Slide, please, Jeff. So having flexibility in the system, you know, one of the great opportunities is to take a look at existing PV only sites, you know, folks that already have PV on the roof, but they don't have batteries, right? That's a real opportunity. And they might have micro inverters on the roof, or they might have optimizers and a string inverter. So they've got an existing PV system. This particular platform allows you to go back and add a battery. So this is showing what we would call an AC coupled system, which is where you add a battery, an inverter. It's a hybrid inverter, and then of course the hub to tie it together. So that's a great opportunity to go back to your customers today and install a battery. And you know, again, we talked on some of these points, the 9540A certification. We meet, you know, codes and standards, you know, various parts of the continental US. The system is designed to be either AC coupled to existing sites or be a DC coupled system, meaning that you have DC modules, you know, batteries, inverters, and so on. And as you said earlier, we touched on some of these points, you know, flexibility in mind. The hub allows you to parallel up to 4 such systems. So with one inverter, one battery cabinet, you can get 20 kilowatt hours, but then scale that to 4 systems for increased capacity. Slide, please. This is a diagram showing you, you know, the key point that we wanted to do more with less. So by having basically one battery module, you know, 2 inverters and a hub, you could do, you know, a variety of applications, whether it's DC coupled or AC coupled, partial home or whole home backup. You know, you basically can do a lot with just a handful of components. And, you know, what does that mean to you? It means that from a logistics standpoint, you don't have to stock so many different components, you know, obviously the cost associated with that. And just managing, you know, whether it's ordering parts, getting parts in-house, you can deal with a couple of components and yet have a very wide application capability. A couple of features, you know, we mentioned Enphase and SolarEdge on there, and that is again the point that, you know, we have tested in the field and in our labs the application of this with an AC coupled. If somebody had a SolarEdge or an Enphase system, we have tested the capability and the functionality of adding this battery inverter system, and it works great. And you know, that is something, you know, the value of having one complete system from one partner is we have taken the ownership to validate the functionality and performance, and so that you can have a simple, easy experience installing. Slide, please. We talked a little bit about the battery chemistry here from a safety perspective, and you know, we selected LFP chemistry. You can see on the bottom right, there's a number of reasons for this. You know, whether it's the actual lifespan, you know, the performance capability of the battery, the safety, and you know, comes at a very cost-effective approach. So this is using lithium iron phosphate. And then in terms of compliance and certifications, you know, we've followed the needs of, for example, Hawaii, California, rest of the continental US, some of the standards that you're familiar with, you know, UL 1741, it's supplement B that we're certified to, obviously the grid connection standards, IEEE 1547, and so many other standards, you know. The inverter includes a rapid shutdown transmitter as part of the system. So in terms of integration, you know, you just basically install the modules, the RSD device, and the system has everything built in. Some additional specifications, the inverter and the battery themselves are NEMA 4X rated. The hub is NEMA 3R. We have a wide operating temperature, up to 53 degrees C. And I think it was mentioned earlier that data sheets are available for you to download from the link on this presentation, and a flyer and information like that. You know, one of the coolest features of the product is, in terms of installation, it's being a modular battery system. It's not a 300-pound gorilla, right? So the battery module is actually less than 100 pounds, and the inverter is 75 pounds. That means it's going to be a little easier to lift and connect. We said it's floor mounted or wall mounted, indoor or outdoor mounted, right? So you can very quickly, very easily install these lighter blocks. And when I was a kid, I was playing with Lego blocks, and this certainly reminds me of those Lego blocks, right? So you can stack these modules, build your system, and configure it the way you want. Slide, please. I mean, this slide is basically, at a high level illustrating, what you can do with a small system or a large system. And again, the point is, flexibility. Slide, please. This is 10 kilowatt hours. And then we have on the next slide showing 20 kilowatt hour. You obviously can support a larger load. And one of the things our application engineers really love doing is engaging with our installers at a very early design phase, looking at the conceptual design, the single line diagrams, and helping with the load calculations, and helping to configure the right, if you will, size the application, so to speak. Next slide, Jeff. So I encourage, if you guys have your cell phones in your hand, to take a picture of that top QR code, and that should very quickly take you to all our collateral, whether they're data sheets or flyers or installation manuals, what we've done from a documentation standpoint. And this goes along with making this a great experience for you, a great customer experience, is the information that's available before you install, or during your installation, or even after installation, right? So we've broken out documents in that kind of regard, whether it's a quick start guide or a full installation manual. That information is available at your fingertips. And what's even more exciting is that the bottom QR code will take you to a 3D VR experience, a virtual reality experience, where you can virtually visualize, if you will, the building blocks, and get interactive instructions on how to install such a system. And that's an exciting feature we wanted to bring to you guys for making that, the training process very simple and straightforward. And maybe I think Silas may speak to this a little bit later. Next slide, please. And maybe one more time. Yeah, this is, again, the user interface, whether it's a homeowner or it's an installer, you have different levels of access to the inverter and the battery system. There is no screen on the inverter in this case. And so complete access is through a smart device, such as your phone or tablet or laptop. You basically walk up to the inverter, connect to Wi-Fi, and register it. And then you can, communicate different settings that you want to, grid settings or operating use modes, whether it's in backup or time of use or, different applications that you may have. So that's all set and configured by this application. And it shows you the typical data you're looking for, whether it's daily production, energy, where it's coming and where it's going, and or a weekly basis or annual basis. And this is an app that you download, and we can go on to the next slide. I think this is a kind of a step-by-step illustration of how installer would go through the process of installing, commissioning, and communicating to the system. You basically, one of the things we're emphasizing is to work very closely with our installer partners to provide the training needed. And most installers are experts. They already know this battery systems, but there are a few differences with our system, and we want to make sure we work with you to help you guys to become experts with our system, with the Q.HOME core. So you basically download the app, create an account, and log into the inverter and set the operating mode. and then it's available on the cloud, and then you could manage the fleet and adjust the settings and just run diagnostics and things of that nature that you guys are familiar with, and this is our version. At this point, I'd like to ask my colleague Silas to just chime in a little bit, because he recently installed a number of these systems, and I'd like for him to share, what that experience was. Silas, if you're there.
Yeah, happy to share just a few comments on that, Cam. Two things that I like to highlight are, number one, the floating mating connectors between the battery modules. So with this product, you can have 10 to 20 kilowatt hours per inverter. And the way we install the battery modules is literally by stacking them on top of each other. By doing so, a electrical and data connection is made in between adjacent battery modules. And above that, you put the BMS, and then on top of that, you put the inverter. And so it really makes it easy to install these things without having to be really mindful of leveling and lining up pilot holes and things like that. Once you install the base plate, it's just straight up from there, stacking effectively. So that's the first thing that kind of stands out when you're installing this product. And then the second thing is, like we've mentioned here, the mobile app that we have is intended to be used for commissioning, and it's kind of a one-stop shop. So, after you put the product on the wall, you're able to use the mobile app to create that end user account for the homeowner, connect the system to Wi-Fi, and also adjust any settings that you need to adjust for that particular project. So, those two particular items stand out to me with this product, and that's what I'd like to share.
Yeah, and Silas, I think one of the things we're emphasizing, thank you for that, the commissioning process. I think you commissioned the system in less than half an hour, if I remember.
That's correct, Kim. That's correct.
Yeah, so the installation is really simple, very quickly goes together. It truly is one of the first wireless battery inverter systems. At the end of the day, they all just plug into each other, and it's completely wireless. So couple final connectors are made, the plus, the minus, and the ground. But other than that, eliminates a lot of headaches. Enhances the reliability because you got fewer connection points. You don't have to mess around by having to plug and unplug and connect and so forth. It's all done for you. And again, the commissioning process is really simple. And I think at that point, we look forward to working with you guys and supporting you and getting out to the field and making it a great experience for you. Jeff, I want to pass it back to you. I think you're going to cover a couple of additional programs here.
Certainly, it's just some efforts from channel marketing. We're coming into a neighborhood near you, hopefully. We're going to go on what we call the road show. It's the Power America Tour. We are going to be going to CED Green Tech Renewables. I'll never quite get it right. It's so hard to switch back, but Green Tech Renewable locations. Please check our listing here and see if there's one near you. If you want to meet us in person, that's where we are going to go and presenting our solution. One thing that I want to bring up is that we cover the United States with FAE field support. We don't have our FAE's contact information up here because we'd rather you contact pti-ess@qcells.com and request help from a field application engineer. But again, when you are installing your first system, please reach out to us. 888-249-7750. That is the number. Call us, or just reach out to your RSM for Qcells, your regional sales manager, and say, I'm thinking about installing your battery system. Can you give us some FAE support? And we're going to be there to support you. So I wanted to bring that up. A very, very important point that I'd like to bring up. We do have a mandatory certification course. It is on our Q Partner portal. So in order to take the Q Partner, in order to take the course, please log into our Q Partner portal at qcellspartner.us. Once you do that, if you have a Q, or if you're already a Q Partner, then you log in. If you're not, you can easily become a Q partner. Just make a login. We want you to go to the training tab and select ESS. And then from the training tab, go to the Q.HOME Core ESS Installer Certification course. This is, I don't want to say like an easy course. We have made this course into something that is not going to take 6 hours. We've made this course into something that realistically can take an hour and a half. You know, something where you can pass through and be certified and understand and know what you're doing when you go out onto an install. And that speaks to, again, the way that our ESS is designed. We can get you through the certification course relatively painlessly, and it's not going to hold up you commissioning a system. Again, we do recommend that each company is limited to 1 account for commissioning. So when you log in, either make sure it's maybe your crew lead or the person who's designated as your crew lead for installations, or make an entirely new login ID to log into Q Partner. Because you will need the same login ID when you commission a system. So when you've completed the course, you send in your completion certificate to pti-ess@qcells.com. You're going to receive your installer level monitoring portal account login credentials within 2 business days. And then from there on in, you're good to go. You're ready to install. So I do want to open it up to question and answer. We have just about 15 minutes left, so I don't know if we've had any questions in the portal. Silas, you're nodding your head. All right, we have questions. So let's get to it.
We definitely have some questions, so I'm happy to read through those and provide some of the responses that we've typed up. Some of the questions may require a little bit of follow-up, you know, after the meeting and email, but definitely have some things we can share here. So, you know, one question that came up is regarding our UL 9540 certification. The question is, do we have 9540A available? We do have 9540A available for our floor-mounted and wall-mounted application of this product. Separate test reports are needed for those 2 different configurations, and we do have those available. And so if you need those for any of your projects, please reach out to us and we will provide that. The next question is, what are the chemistries used for your batteries, and what country are the minerals mined from? So the chemistry for this product is lithium iron phosphate. And you know, we can perhaps follow up offline to discuss further where the minerals are from, not something we can share in this forum. Similarly, the question of who makes the cells and the battery modules. This is a fully Qcells product. And so we, of course, work with our supplier partners to source these things. And again, not something we can share in detail in this forum. We got a question, is this 200 amp rated, or how do you manage the 120 rule? The Q.HOME product is rated to handle 200 amp feed. Which allows you to power 200 amp load center as your protected load panel. The 120% rule doesn't apply to the hub bus, and because the inverter breaker connects directly to the hub, and for that you'll need to be mindful of the 120% rule for inverter ampacity. Brian Allison on our team, who's on as well, can jump in to clarify anything I may have missed. And again, if there are any follow-up questions on that, please follow up an email and we'll respond.
Yeah, sorry, just to add, you know, so a single 7.6 kilowatt nominal rating current is close to 32 amps. So 4 of those gets you to 126 to 128 amps. And so this is actually, you know, 160/200 amp rating. So we got plenty of margin in this in terms of that 80% rule, unless, you know, Brian wanted to chime in on that. So this is designed, you know, with those growth plans in mind. So somebody may install one system today and then in the future come back and add additional capacity, and you know that it's designed for growth, and you don't need to change, something later on down the road. It's again adding another Lego block.
Thanks for that, Cam. We got a specific question of, can this unit power a 4-ton AC unit? It's a great question, and for that we would want to point you to our table of continuous and overload capabilities of the product. Whenever you're doing these load calculations, it's going to be pretty site specific. And so again, reach out to us, check out our documentation where we have this information available, and you can kind of see what can we power with this product, depending on what your loads are. Another question we have is regarding this being a hybrid inverter. So it has 3 MPPT controllers, which is true, and that's not needed for an AC coupling project, which is also true. And so the question is, do you have a plan to offer a variant without the MPPTs? I want to mention that we have certified that variant of the product, but at this time we are only selling the hybrid version. So should there be a need for that pure variant in the future, we are ready to react. But at this time, we are just selling the hybrid variant of the product.
And Silas, if I may again add one more time, please. It's a good question, and I wanted to emphasize something that we didn't mention earlier, that we have a 2-to-1 DC to AC ratio. So simply a 7.6 kilowatt inverter, you can truly put 15.2 kilowatts DC on the roof, or in the case of the 3.8, 7.6 kilowatt DC. So giving you another example of the flexibility, and again, data sheets are available for downloading. Back to you, Silas.
Thank you, Cam. So we do have quite a few questions, so I'm just going to keep going down and picking some of the ones that are maybe more relevant for everybody on the call. So apologies if I don't get to it. One moment. So a good question that came in, I thought, so during a power outage, the question is, let's say the network is down, right? Typically this product is accessed through a monitoring portal that's connected to a cloud, right? And so you can imagine if the grid goes out and the whole network is down, how do you connect to the system and how do you control it, change settings, etc. There is a local Wi-Fi signal that's generated from the product that you can connect to with the mobile app, no matter what the time is. So during commissioning, that will be available. After commissioning, that Wi-Fi signal will be there. So again, if your network's ever down and you need to go connect to your system, you can do that locally via the onboard Wi-Fi signal that's available. We got a question about, generally the demand response programs that are coming up in the Northeast of the United States. So Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So just to comment on that, at this time, the product's not listed on those, but we are absolutely evaluating them. And it's important to be mindful, the underlying requirements for these programs are based on IEEE 2030.5 2018. The product does have that certification. So we're evaluating these programs, and we're going to be moving forward with them in the near future. So the product does have the functional requirements to join those programs. So I would recommend, reach out to your local Qcells sales manager and communicate to them your interest in the program. And that way we can work together on covering what is needed. Give me one moment. So we have a question, can floor-mounted or wall-mounted systems be sited outside? Yes, they can. This product can be installed outdoors or indoors. Of course, we have some specific requirements around that in our documentation, which I would refer you to. But generally speaking, it cannot be installed in any kind of direct sunlight or weather, such as rain or snow or hail. It needs to have some kind of covering over it. So, and then there are the operational temperature limits that you need to be mindful of if it's outdoors or indoors. But generally speaking, yes, it can be put indoors or outdoors. Give me one moment while I read through these additional questions. So there's a question here on pricing as it compares to the Powerwall or the LG battery. So for questions like that, we would again direct you to your regional Qcells sales manager or your CED contacts to get more information on that one.
Yeah, if I could jump in on that here real quick. We can't really discuss pricing on this forum, but we would strongly encourage you to go to your green tech rep and speak with them about it. If you know your rep with Qcells as well, organize a meeting and make sure you bring up FAE support in the meeting as well, and talk a little bit about pricing with them. Yeah, green tech reps are standing by.
Thank you, Jeff. Another question we have here is perhaps more general, but my installer is frustrated with issues associated with the in-phase batteries. How does Qcells deal with this? So maybe a more general question, but I just wanted to highlight that we fully appreciate the importance of customer support for this kind of product, as it, in most cases, is affecting people's home energy. And so to help support our customers as much as possible, like Jeff and Cam mentioned, we have regional FAEs that are going to be experts on the specific applications of the region, so that for any customers that need support, we have regional expertise to lend that support. Depending on where you're at in the United States, there are going to be different requirements, installation practices, so on for this type of product. And so we believe having that regional expertise is paramount for good customer support. And on top of that, we are building out an internal customer support center where we're going to have different levels of technicians to respond to whatever level of inquiry you might have. So just wanted to highlight that we fully appreciate the importance of customer support with this kind of product, and we're taking many actions to provide that.
So I think there was a question on operating modes and programming. I don't know if you looked at that one, but I can comment on that. So clearly this system has 5-6 different operating modes, and the most popular ones: time of use, backup mode, self-consumption. So even for example, specific requirements in Hawaii, this has pre-programmed functionality, so you can select those modes, and also you can adjust those modes for specific needs.
That's correct. Thank you, Cam. We have a question here: is in-phase IQ8 AC coupling working? It is. We are approved for AC coupling with the in-phase IQ8 microinverters. I'm sure you're aware, but there are kind of multiple models of the IQ8 microinverter. And so what we're going to have in our product documentation is a list of approved models specifically. So I would refer you to that part of our documentation. But yes, we are going to be compatible. We are compatible, with the different in-phase IQ8 models. And again, when you look at the documentation, it's written there, but we don't do any installations if there's an in-phase battery on site or an in-phase switch on site. But again, that's in the documentation. So to answer the question, we do allow AC coupling with the IQ8. And a great question here, how is the PV and battery energy storage system power oversizing handled with in-phase and solar edge? As I'm sure many of you are aware, if you're AC coupling, you need to be mindful of that AC coupled PV size and the battery system that you're installing. The general rule of thumb for this product is the nameplate rating of your AC coupled inverter must be less than the maximum battery charge rate of your Q.HOME system. And so again, this is reflected in the documentation, so that's where I point you to, but that's generally the rule of thumb with this product. We have a question here regarding bidirectional EV charging. At this time, this product doesn't have that feature built into it, but this is something that I would say definitely reach out to your local Qcells regional sales manager and let them know your interest, so that again, we're always interested in your voice and getting your feedback. So it's a good question.
There's a question on PV and BESS sizing limitations. We talked about the DC to AC ratio, so 2-to-1 on the DC side, and the battery sizing. Again, a single system goes from 10 kilowatt hours to 20 kilowatt hours. You can have 4 of those to get up to 80 kilowatt hours.
Thank you, Cam. We have a question here on AC coupling again. How do you AC couple? Do you use a PV disconnect relay or SB supplemental controls? the ladder. So for the Q.HOME system, when you're doing an AC coupled project, you're going to be installing a CT sensor on the output feed of the AC coupled inverter. That way the Q.HOME system knows exactly what's coming from that inverter. Then the Q.HOME system uses frequency watt controlling mechanisms to derate that AC coupled inverter. You know, for example, if the grid is out and your Qcells battery is at maximum state of charge, it will frequency shift to derate the AC coupled inverter. So it's using, like you mentioned here, the UL 1741 supplement A and supplement B functions to control that AC coupled inverter, as well as that CT sensor measurement of the output. We have a question here. Does this battery system work with all inverters? Great question. You know, like Cam and Jeff mentioned, you know, we do AC couple this product with Enphase and Solar Edge, and we've tested, you know, various models within those two brands. And you're going to be able to find those specific models in our documentation. So the answer is no, it's not compatible with every inverter. We want to be very mindful about what we're permitting, what we're not permitting, because we need to make sure we test it first. And so please refer to the documents for our approved applications and models that we can AC couple with. And again, I said it, I keep saying it, but if there's a model of inverter that you have a lot of and that you want to see added to the list, reach out to your local Qcells rep and they'll get that back to us so we can evaluate it. So
there's a question about operating temperature, so which you can clarify. And again, this is on the data sheet that you can download. But the you know, the battery temperature range is -10 to 53 C, and the inverter is actually a little wider than that, -25 to +60 C, with some derating assigned.
we have a question here. Will this be a certified battery for the SGIP program in California? It will be on the SGIP program, this Q.HOME core product. If you look, we actually have our Q.HOME Gen 1 product on the SGIP listing, and we will be adding the Gen 2 product as well. And then we have about 2 minutes left. There's some questions. So there's some other questions here, but in the name of time, I think we can, you know, follow up an email and provide some more detailed responses. Jeff, Cam, any other questions you want to cover, or you think we're ready to wrap it up?
I just wanted to say we really appreciate the questions, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but please reach out to, you know, the email address that Jeff mentioned, which is pti-ess@qcells.com, or to your local, you know, Green Tech sales manager. And, you know, we'll get engaged, assign application engineers, and do a complete review of your application and help you along, you know, answer the questions and also with the design.
One more pitch for the road show here, guys. Want to make sure that if you want to see us in person, ask us questions in person. These are our dates for the road show. You know, see if your local CED or your local Green Tech is participating, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, I wanted to also add that we have design team representation at each of those locations. So if anybody's ready to, you know, pull a permit for these systems, we're excited to do that permitting work and put the package together and help with technical sales as needed. But thanks, guys. That was a great presentation, and thanks, Jeff, for presenting.
Appreciate it. Thank you to everybody, and we really appreciate y'all's time today. Thank you.